to another episode of the Brand Matters podcast. And today we're talking product management plus AI. I'm actually very delighted to have two guests with me, Chani Modi and my namesake, Padmini Ranganathan. They are both accomplished product leaders in the Valley, have worked for large enterprises like SAP and VMware. And they're both doing very exciting things with AI in their space. And I'm very delighted to welcome them both here. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Padmini. Glad to be here.
Yes, and then I would love for you guys to introduce yourselves to the audience.
Go ahead, Padmini.
Sure. As Padmini said, her namesake, I've been in the product world for 20 plus years. I worked starting with Oracle all the way to my recent stint at TELUS in the agricultural tech. My background's primarily been applying technology to solve supply chain problems.
Chani.
All right. So I'm Chani Modi. I have spent a lot of my time at VMware building data center infrastructure, virtualization products. Virtualization back then when I joined VMware was how we see AI development today. Virtualization has been commoditized and so will AI eventually. So we'll talk about that. In between, I've built my own businesses, so gone from 0 to 1 and 1 to 10. And it's been an exciting journey. So yeah, it's a new paradigm shift that we are going through and excited for the conversation here.
Yeah, welcome, ladies. And just to give the credit to our network, Netri, which connected me to Chani and Padmini, and we kind of hit off pretty well from there. And we've known each other for a while. Padmini and I also share, apart from our names, we also share a common interest in classical music. And she's been associated with a nonprofit. So there's a lot of good stuff that I share with both of them. So I want to start first with understanding the customer. So how do you think today AI is helping accelerate that process to some extent, right? But also kind of bring that intelligence to the PM.
You said the word infused, Padmini, so I'm going to start with that. I think of it as automation as being infused with intelligence. And as products are becoming intelligent, product managers need to start making sure that all of the documentation they do, whether it's capturing, as you said, customer research or user requirements, they got to start I think documentation is going to give way to intelligence as well. So I think product managers need to intellectually shift from being like a document generating machine, which unfortunately the role has become, to get back to being that strategic intelligent unit, right? So I've seen product managers use now Chat PRD or Product Board AI. These are tools that automatically synthesize all of the customer interviews, the customer feedback, market signals, competitive intelligence. And so just like we're building AI products, product managers also start to use AI to really understand those customer signals and focus more on the outcome rather than the actual task of producing those documents. And so with that, I believe that when you then switch from what problems to solve to road mapping, some of the traditional frameworks like the RICE framework, reach, impact, confidence, effort, that becomes very simplistic, very subjective. So and it becomes hard to maintain. So I think about road mapping. Like I just came out of an agri-tech business, so I'm going to use some analogies there. When we think in agriculture about crop planning, we talk about AI-powered crop planning, where AI starts to predict what the soil will need by looking at patterns and data from the past seasons and helping farmers plan that nutrient management in their soil more effectively. I see, products taking the same path. Any product, it's not just a crop product, right? But it's software product. We're no longer thinking of delivering features over time. Instead, we're delivering intelligence at a point in time. So then those traditional prioritization frameworks stop having meaning. Instead, I think AI is going to start helping product managers operate more like precision agriculture, right? So continuously analyzing the market, continuously analyzing the behavior patterns of customers, competitive landscapes, and dynamically prioritize, right? That's the holy grail anyway, dynamic prioritization. And imagine now that we can actually do that with AI.
I'll build on it. First, I want to talk about like PMs needing to have a very clear mental model. So having that foundational understanding is critical. So understand what LLM's strengths are, understand what they are used for, what is the raw intelligence, what is the pre-training, what is alignment and whatnot, right? Then comes the product layer that Padmini talks about, and what are the PM levers, right? Just briefly on the product layer, as a PM, you will be in a place where you have to decide, hey, am I going to use an existing model like OpenAI Claude, or are we going to take some models and build on top? The most common variety that you come across is a hybrid, right? Where you take a general purpose model and now you're customizing them to your needs, adding RAG and fine tuning and whatnot. So all of those are fundamental concepts that a PM needs to absolutely have a great understanding of. And then you build on top. So to add to Padmini's comments around how PMs have been traditionally kind of narrowed down to project management. They're also known as product owners in many worlds. And I would say that now is an opportunity to be really seen as a mini CEO. We've heard that term as well. So really understanding your space very well and guiding your entire cohort to work towards certain outcomes that benefit the business directly, right? And meets the customer requirements. And I would add another dimension is the UX, right? And the reason I talk about UX here is because I spend a lot of time doing rapid prototyping. And while UX designers will always be needed, it's not like the job is going away for anyone. It's just we are getting sophisticated assistants to do our jobs better. It's about having that trio of engineering, UX, and PM that work together. Now, PMs have a fantastic ability to create rapid prototypes and then work with UX to create real solutions along with engineering a lot faster. So the iteration time is reduced and the quality goes.
I do love the idea of you talking about the mini CEO, and in that context, kind of understanding UX, understanding engineering, and understanding the product, right? And marketing as well. So it kind of becomes like you're wearing kind of multiple hats, and you're not just kind of receded to become like just a project manager. In a lot of cases, and to be fair, like they are herding cats, right? PMs are herding. And so it's like, how do you kind of elevate yourself and go beyond the herding thing, right? So
Yeah, I think we used to call it the general manager mindset at SAP, and we all went through a GM training as product managers as well.
yeah.
I think it's one of the best things to do is to really think about that. As Chani was saying, right, it's the mini CEO, and you were saying the orchestrator. I think of it as PMs, product managers were really kind of having to deal with a cognitive overload kind of problem, right? So you're constantly context switching
Yeah.
from explaining user research to engineers or translating those technical constraints to UX designers, aligning QA expectations with business timelines or value proposition messaging to marketing. And so you're constantly in that context switching. And every day, if you really look at a day in the life of a PM, you're going from meeting to meeting and you're just it's really a cognitive overload. I think today what will happen with AI is it's fundamentally changing that and becoming that connective tissue between all these functions. So PMs can actually focus more on being that mini CEO, thinking about the business outcome, thinking about the customer outcome. It's no longer customer success based on some NPS generated score. It's actually customer success based on outcomes that make more sense. And that's where I think AI agents are really going to become that connective tissue and maintain that continuity across the entire change from like concept to delivery.
And I think you talked about agents a little bit, and I want to go back to road mapping and dynamic prioritization and stuff that you were talking about. And yes, it can be agentized, it can be automated. But what I want to bring here now to the fore is the concept of human in the loop and the value of that human in the loop, which is going to be the PM. How do you think that will, like the whole dynamic prioritization process with engineering and the conversations and the collaborations, how will that whole thing work with agents and PM becoming actually a strategic orchestrator? I want you to take us through that process. One of
Yeah,
you.
I can take that. So the biggest thing that AI can do for us is it can help triage noise for us, right? So you feed in a lot. I mean, okay, so precursor to that, garbage in, garbage out. So let's talk about high quality data, right? So you collect all of the feedback from the NPS, the support tickets, the customers, whatever data that you have, you feed it through several. There are many variety of apps out there, variety of agentic workflows out there. So obviously it's going to be a lot of trial and error. But the point is that you can those applications are available to us, and of course there is certain amount of learning required. At this time, it's not fully automated yet, but that's the exciting part as well. That you are contributing towards building those amazing tools. So feed that data in, and what AI does for us, it'll create patterns, it'll create clusters, and we can leverage that patterns and understand what our customers want, or how do we translate the customer needs into requirements, right? That's where the human in the loop is here to stay. I cannot see, based on my experience so far, I do not see in many years to come that need is going to go away. The more automation comes in place, the more oversight is needed, right? So once again, it goes about, hey, we have to upskill ourselves to get to a level where we understand what AI can do for us and leverage it to its maximum ability. So right now it's about take the data, analyze the data, make sure it is actually accurate, so fact based. So the kind of prompts that you provide to the agents will enable you to ensure that you are evaluating the answers. And there are other techniques to improve the accuracy of the answers, but you have to cross check because it's extremely sophisticated in terms of hallucinations and making stuff up. So that's where human in the loop is going to stay.
I think absolutely right, Chani. I think the analytical aspects AI can take over, but the judgment aspect and the context setting is still much more human in the loop. It's thinking about, like, talking about, you can estimate, like AI can estimate complexity based on historical data. It can identify dependencies. If you're a technical PM, it can actually even flag technical debt, like Linear B, if you use that tool, can actually track like delivery velocity. It can catch like spec mismatch before a code is merged. And so instead of a product manager getting in to test and ensure that there is parity, etc., you can actually use Linear B for those things, right? But prioritization, I think, is really a courageous thing, and I don't know if AI is courageous yet. It's still a follower at this point. I hope it doesn't become courageous, because the human decision framework is a lot like, you have to understand market timing. For that, you're working with marketing to understand, what makes sense and what doesn't. You don't really know what's the competitive dynamics or the customer relationship nuances. What is the risk tolerance? You can feed all of that into AI, but can AI really still make that human courageous decision of what to prioritize? So I think prioritization is still fundamentally a human a human in the loop aspect. So chatting with you, because it needs human wisdom at the end of the day.
The judgment part, it's not. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard about evals and LLM as a judge, and all of that will improve accuracy by a certain percent point, and that's great. I mean, we are getting there. But I've used AI to analyze customer interviews, and boy, it's you have to be very critical about the output it produces, and you got to go check.
In my latest work, one of my PMs, who was a domain expert in the area of agriculture, he was actually able to use his own farm to take the historical data from his farm and feed it into voice AI, and the voice AI, as he was walking the field, was able to tell him what product to buy and when to apply, and how to predict like the next 4 to 6 weeks of seasonality and changes that's needed in order to make sure your crop is yielding the right amount of produce. It's amazing what it can do with the voice interface, and he didn't need to keep going back to his tractor or truck or back to the office to figure this out. He could do that on the spot as he was walking the field. Think about something like that when a maintenance engineer is at the maintenance site, or when a retail inventory manager is, or a merchandiser is walking the aisle. That instant experience is really what I think AI is going to do. And for product managers, you now have to sort of create that virtual experience, and you can't sit down and start to translate what that looks like in words, right? It's better, you can prototype, you can learn design. You don't have to learn how to use Figma anymore. You can just use AI, right?
So how can organizations start thinking about retooling, rewiring the PMs in such a way that they become, pivotal to the company? I know it's a hard question.
But so I think discovery to design is an area where I'm just speaking from my most recent experience. I was able to reorganize my teams into doing discovery to design as a contiguous process, and not just design, but actually I would love to see customer validation in the loop. So it's not like hey, I translate this to a designer, we get Figma prototypes, and then we go to the customer to validate. Instead, I would be walking down the aisle in a retail store, for example, with a customer, with a merchandiser, and then just create a merchandiser experience for that merchandiser right there, based on what I'm seeing as a challenge, and maybe they're recording something in their logbook, and what if I create something where I say, hey, just speak into this. It's going to record this for you in the same format that you would like to see it. And it's also giving you some intelligence right here. Would you like to use this and try it out? Right? Imagine just being able to do that. You don't need weeks of doing that, right? So to me, I would like to see discovery of the problem statement, challenging the user in terms of status quo versus what if scenarios, and creating those prototypes on the fly, gathering those immediate rich experience validations. Then you're bringing it to engineering to say, hey, this is what worked. Can you codify this? That would make a huge, I think that fundamentally just shifts the onus of responsibility on the product manager, for the product manager to say, hey, I have to be user outcome driven.
Yeah.
There is no two ways about this.
On the field, basically, or on the field.
On the field. I've seen, unfortunately, in my last few years, and this is not the fault of any organization, but I think the function itself, in the last 8 years, I see product managers just sitting in their offices or home offices and writing out requirements or conducting interviews. What happened to walking side by side with the customer, that physical ability to say, hey, how do you do your job today, and observe and respond? That's missing. And I think now we can delegate the back office stuff to AI, and we could actually go be in the front. That would be front lines. That would be so cool.
Amazing. I love this concept of mini CEO, but there are a lot of people who are very passionate about just being a product manager, right? So what would your advice be to them? How should they charter and navigate?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead, Chani. I liked your distinction between internal, inbound, and outbound PMs. So yeah, go ahead.
So okay, so there's different sets of advice needed for fresh graduates versus senior PMs versus people who are maybe even getting close to, hey, I have 5 more years and then I want to retire. So it's a very different stages. For fresh graduates, it's really understanding, and I think they would be more open to evolution of AI and more accepting of it. Whereas, as we get senior, we have a lot of experience, and we have our biases. Let's put it that way: good or bad biases, right? So fresh graduates have that advantage that they don't have any baggage.
No data.
It's a clean slate. Run with it, right? Learn as much as you can. Go take internships, and learn as much as you can with respect to understanding where AI is, understand its capabilities, understand its limitations, and understand what to expect 5 years down the road. And start pick a lane and start chipping away at it, right? So, maybe you want to focus internally. So start understanding what are the different workflows that can improve efficiencies for the company in certain segment. And if you're outbound, then go understand how to do customer interviews. And there are lots of applications today, great applications, available AI apps that will help you analyze those customer interviews and make sense out of it. So spend some time there and kind of build on that. For senior folks, it's about leveraging what we already know, build on that experience. When AI hallucinates, you know that, right? You will see that output and you can catch that, right? Which fresh graduates will not be able to do that. Leverage that experience for yourself as well as for training the new cohort, the fresh graduates. For people that are looking to retire in 5 years, I would say take this as a challenge, and keep your brain sharp. It's really fun if you really get into the thick of it. You have certain expertise in a certain area, so just go deep in it. And I think I'm pretty confident that whatever area that you're focusing on, there are AI apps available, or if not, think about building one.
Exactly.
Right? Leverage the tools and build.
Become a CEO of your product.
Yes.
Pretty easy, I must say, even for fairly non-technical person. I've learned technology on the job and not programmed in my life, but it's becoming so much more easier. Not even just vibe coding, actual developing an app and publishing an app's actually feasible today, no matter who you are. That's the crazy part, to be honest. I think the way I was looking at it also is, Chani, you were saying about like junior PMs and senior. You know what I worry about? Like the danger trap for me is I don't want junior PMs just to be thinking about prompt engineering, because I hear that a lot. I hear like, hey, I make the best prompts now, and I'm thinking, okay, but what happened to strategic product mindset, right? And so now you can generate some beautiful artifacts without understanding why it matters.
Yeah.
And I think fundamentally, product managers, if you want to become a product manager, no matter what function you are from, I was a consultant at customer sites, understanding how to audit software and how to implement software. And then I'm like, why was it even designed this way? When didn't they understand what actually gets done? And so that's the piece. Why does it matter? Why certain trade-offs matter?
Yeah.
While AI can do the pattern recognition and become that analyst, I think the product manager should really know when to make and stand behind like counterintuitive calls, and just
Yes.
so that you can preserve that strategic advantage of the product that you're working on, because ultimately market is still competitive. You're still going to have the same idea being solutioned by five other companies, and you need that competition to thrive in market, as you know, Padmini. Like you're the marketing expert here. So in that environment, I think product managers should still fundamentally, while they're upskilling themselves, should fundamentally retain some of the basic 101s of product management. You become a product manager because you love solving problems
Correct.
and you love to build.
Yeah.
That's what that passion has to be there. And I just wrapped another podcast, dropped one this week, and I talk about the three soft skills: empathy, communication, and curiosity, like you said,
Yeah.
Padmini. So
Yeah.
those things are fundamentally fine-tuning that over time and over experience, while, like Chani said, AI, use it as a fantastic executive assistant for yourself.
Yeah. And actually, I know of a few product managers who've moved out of the country to do other things, like to build things for other countries, like in Eastern Europe or in India, where there is a need beyond just software, right? There's a need beyond just creating stuff for enterprises. So actually going to that consumerization side of things, right? So they've done some fantastic work already, and some are already doing it, and they've received good funding. So it's also a kind of opening up your headspace to think about things beyond just software. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, that is a very exciting space, right? The application is at D2C. That's what you're referring to.
exactly.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling number of applications out there, and there's a lot of scope.
Yeah, and the need for food, shelter, that will never end. So, and services. So think about it.
I know. I mean, I'm seeing application of AI in areas like obviously climate, energy management, and so on, but waste management recently. Sensor-driven data that's coming in
Correct.
on carbon emissions from like a field of waste. But how could you then sequester it, or change the trajectory of that? The possibilities are becoming endless. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've already done some work in agri, so I'm sure you're kind of.
I think that's the having tackled the food industry, to your point, the basics, right? Food, shelter, and clothing. And I hate fast fashion. I hate fast food. So I guess there's something to be said there. Who knows what I'll do next? But I'm still thinking food for sure.
Yeah, still exciting times, and I think all you guys are all smart people to figure this out. So good chatting. Thank you.
Us.
Yes.
Thank you. So good chatting with both of you, and let's stay in touch. And for everyone who's listening, we'll meet you at the next podcast. Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Padmini. Thank you, Chani.